Good morning. I am sitting in my office at the church this morning. It's Saturday, June 6th. I wanted to take a little bit of time to express my feelings on the events that have taken place these past few weeks in regards to the death of George Floyd. Our synod bishop, as well as our presiding bishop, Elizabeth Eaton, have both issued statements about the events. Other things that have happened prior to this is at the last churchwide assembly, which was in August of 2019, the voting members adopted a resolution designating June 17th as a commemoration for the martyrdom of the Emanuel 9. Now, these were the 9 people that were killed, murdered, on June 17th, 2015, during a Bible study at the Emanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina. So on Sunday, June 14th, we will be doing a confession and lament on racism, as well as during that service, the prayer of the day and prayers will focus on racism. What happened to George Floyd, as we know, is not new. It's been happening for many, many years. It saddens me that we are still dealing with racism in 2020. In an effort to be more informed about the effects and how people feel, I contacted Jean Butler. And here is her response in talking with her daughter Yolanda and Thomas. She said, "We agree that the current response to the death of Mr. Floyd should raise concerns regarding the treatment of black males in this country. Raising 2 black boys makes us concerned about their future and how they'll be viewed in the eyes of white Americans. Will they meet the same fate of having a representative of law enforcement placing their foot on their neck and not respond to pleas of indicating they can't breathe?" Emerson and Duncan had many questions over the weekend asking why African Americans are treated so differently. We make every effort to protect them, not allowing them to be outside without an adult being available to watch them. I feel that white Americans must open their eyes to unfair treatment because of one's race, culture, or ethnicity. Political leaders must be held accountable for not protecting the rights of all Americans. Those of you that know the Butlers and knew them for years know they are wonderful people who have tried to help us understand their point of view. I was saddened when Jean told me that they won't allow their 2 grandsons, their mom or them, to go out on their street alone. And she said, "You know, your grandson, eldest grandson, James, he's a year younger than Emerson." And she said, "I imagine his life is totally different, that he doesn't worry about, his parents don't worry about him being outside, playing." So think about that during this time. Also, I watched this movie that it was made available on streaming services like Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu, and so forth, entitled Just Mercy. It premiered last year, and it's about an attorney that goes to Alabama and sets up this justice for those on death row. And he works with trying to get their death sentences changed to life in prison. But in the case of the one man, he takes a case of Walter McMillan, who was unjustly accused of murdering an 18-year-old white girl and has been on death row. It is an amazing movie that I was stunned by certain things that took place, that this attorney, who is black, what he had to deal with from the police and those in power to try to get this conviction overturned, which it eventually was. I encourage you to watch it, especially during this time. I want to say one more thing. You know, Marty Lynch, who many of you know, had this wonderful idea of printing signs with Martin Luther King Jr. quotes. And the signs have come to fruition. They will be available next week. And on these signs, as I said, will be Martin Luther King Jr. quotes, not votes, and will be available if you would like to pick one up at the church. So the idea is for people of West Bloomfield to display them in their yards, and we will have some in the church as well, at the church outside. Some of the quotes: love is the only force capable of turning an enemy into a friend. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice anywhere. I decided to stick with love. Hate is too big a burden to bear. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Yesterday, there was a peaceful protest rally near Maple and Orchard Lake. Actually, it went way down Orchard Lake Road to Walnut Lake. And I know a lot of West Bloomfield people were involved. And I am so glad to see that the police department was involved, including the chief and the deputy chief. And they were there with the protesters, and they were supporting them. I know that our police department here is quite unique. I know the deputy chief very well. Kurt Lawson's the president of our Optimist Club. And I know that they strive and have worked for many years to help people in any situation and not look at color. My prayer for all of us at Holy Spirit is to do the same. We are God's people, as the hymn says, the sheep of his pasture. We are the ones that must take a stand against inequality. May we do so.